am the last keynote speaker here, and therefore I would like to give simply a short overview about the concept of technological nationalism. And that is something which links very much with discussion in the first session, where we discussed about the decoupling issue in the world economy, and the future trade world is actually very much related also with the term technological nationalism. And on this opening slide, I put a photo of an opening ceremony of a factory in Arizona by TSMC, the Taiwanese most sophisticated semiconductor company. And that is somehow also a symbol of the change which happens, that Taiwanese are investing into United States. So, and here are some definitions and concepts which are explained a bit what is technological nationalism. And clearly we can say also that mercantilism in trade theory has been in 17th century, and this idea is somehow coming back. And the idea is, of course, that technological weapon could be used. And I go further on quickly. What are the main ideas? That government intervention in the market is justified. And this is somehow like a defense against the other hostile country. And it also says that the country could create competitive advantage using technological nationalism. And of course, most of all, it is evident in all kinds of so-called future-oriented industries. And I could say even more that at the core of all these industries is production of semiconductors and chips, because that is the cornerstone of future new technologies. And therefore, what is the background, how it comes that we have this technological nationalism so important on the arena? And that is, of course, a fight between the liberal democratic model and so-called techno-authoritarianism. And the issue is, it is fight for technological leadership. And the point is now what to do. And one view is, of course, that if we have different values, we have conflict of values. And the technological leadership is also now already issue of fight for values. So it comes that technological nationalism is becoming so important. And very quickly told, it is weaponization of technology. We are talking that now Putin and Russia is weaponizing energy, and it is about the technology. And it has been already the case during the Cold War between US and Soviet Union with allies, that we saw it already where technology was a weapon. But now it's repeated again. And here is one document called Decoupling and Severe Ties, which says quite clearly that we are facing a world where there is a growing firewall separating itself from each other, those countries who are in the lead in technologies. But main point in all this discussion is actually the Chinese steps. And already Christer Lungvall in his speech already mentioned it, but I come back to that. This is a document made in China 2025. And it was announced already now 7 years ago. And it was saying very clearly that China by 2049 is a leading manufacturing superpower in the world. And in Xi's speech, he said also now a couple of years ago that aim is to achieve national renewal, which means replacing the United States as a world leader. And that was some kind of triggering point for different kind of actions from first of all, from the side of United States. And in addition to that document, sometime later was also, 2018, was announced also that China Standards 2035 will be prepared. And in addition to that, I refer to one quote from Xi Jinping, where he said that to build China into cyber great power, China must have its own technology, it must have strong technology. And in addition, the ambition to become a cyber great power is not solely a game of technology, but also a game of ideas and discourse of power. And that says quite straightforwardly that it's very much linked with position on the world market. And now I show a couple of slides which are from different sources, also Henry Foundation materials here, where you see that Chinese companies in production of chips are not still in the top league. Here you see the 15 most important companies, and there are no Chinese companies listed. But on the next slide, you see from which countries China is importing those semiconductors. And we see that Taiwan, the same Taiwan, we often think China is going to invade very soon, is the most important source for imports. South Korea is following, Malaysia, Japan, and so on. So basically it shows also interdependence of countries and how complicated these relationships are. And another slide shows quite clearly that China could not export without importing all kinds of chips. You see, integrated circuits has very important import item, which is needed in order to prepare and export the items on the right-hand side. So, and that shows also how the interdependence again reveals. And it explains also very much why in this Russian-Ukraine war, China is not openly taking the side. And I go now further on with some policy instruments which United States has used. And it is partly even called silicon nationalism. And it concerns very much everything related with semiconductor business. And you see ABC, suspension of technology sales, prohibit US investments into China industry. And Chinese companies could not acquire stakes in United States and in other allies as well. And there is a whole list of methods how it's done. So I don't stop so long here, but I want to show this slide. And the dark blue round is actually everything which was covered in Made in China 2025. And the light blue is the area where US has applied different kind of bans on technology access. So we see that. But I put it here also one comment, so-called Galapagos syndrome, which says that protecting local industries creates national champions, but it inhibits their ability to adapt and compete. And I think we can later discuss it also in our broader round about this issue and how this technological nationalism in long term will affect competitiveness of those countries. And now I show you next slide, which shows investments, capital investments into semiconductor industry by the location of headquarters. And here we see the rise of Asian countries from very low level up to now 66%. And down you see that only 8% of that is China. It's all other Asian countries. And then we see how United States is actually in the same position, and Europe is quite minor player, and Japanese role has decreased. But on the right-hand side, I put several figures, and I only partly comment them. There is very interesting figures about the new plans, which are reaction to American policy. It means that different companies are starting to invest into Western Hemisphere and to Europe. You see Intel commitment to build in Germany $19 billion US dollars plant. Or already projects going on. Samsung in Texas with 17 billion, Taiwan company in Arizona, which I told already 12 billion, and so on. So basically there are estimations that US should invest 300 billion into that business to restore the previous position in the market share. So that's a lot of money. But on the other hand, this is something which is important if really Western world would like to compete. It is not only about tariffs and protection, but about investments. And next slide shows that Congress passed in US a special act which proposed 52 billion investment in domestic subsidies. And State of Union speech, Ursula von der Leyen in 2021 said that Europe is creating jointly state-of-art European chip ecosystem, and the aim is to increase the share of EU firms from 10% to 20%. And the European Chips Act, which is even not adopted, but according to that, investment should be something like 43 billion into this industry segment. So, and now I show a couple of slides about another side of this war. It is called even World War of Standards, which is extremely important part of that. So if one country really takes a huge market share, then in the long run also the technological solutions and standards will be prevailing. And in many areas we see that already now that China has achieved that. And in this case, I would say I maybe move further on. And you see, for example, what has happened with standard proposals by companies by their origin by beginning of 2021. And 5G, we see already that biggest player is China with most standard proposals, followed by Sweden, we can say Ericsson, Finland, Nokia, and then is coming US. So it means that the battle to set digital technical standards is really going on. And Joe Biden already in 2020 in Foreign Affairs article mentioned 3 points. And he said that for 70 years, United States played a leading role in writing rules. You should continue the lead, not China. You see the confrontation argument very clearly. United States is leading the change in innovation. There is no reason we should be falling behind China. Anyone else comes to clean energy, quantum computing, etc. And the third point is about allies. The most effective way to meet that challenge is to build a united front, allies and partners to confront China abusive behavior. So that is about the technical standards. And I only go further on. Biden administration already in February 2021 conducted so-called the 100-day review on supply chains of strategic importance products. And here is the title of that document and structure of that document, where you see that what kind of value chains are covered by that document. And this is utmost importance for different sectors. And then I discovered about very interesting agreement, Wassenaar Arrangement, which was established already in 1996, which aim is to contribute to regional security and stability, responsibility in conventional arms and dual-use goods. And there are 42 participating states. And one member state is, by the way, Russia, but not China. So that's very interesting. What is the future of this kind of arrangement? But coming back to the Europe and its approach, I would say that Europe very long hesitated how to behave. But now European Union has given China the title of systemic rival. And it was ratified by European Parliament, and now it was extremely big issue raised when China Media Group acquired 81% of the world's most sophisticated robot manufacturer, KUKA, in Germany. So, and I show also these cooperation slides which are now created, and US and EU created Trade and Technology Council, which is now working second year. And it is, its objective is, as you read here, to lead global like-minded partners in promoting open, interoperable, securable, reliable digital space, and to remain leaders in developing and protecting tomorrow's technology. And in the next slide, you see also what is going to happen. I made some points simply bigger, but that is about the issue of strategic standardization mechanism, a joint roadmap, how to measure artificial intelligence and risks concerning to that. Very many different important points here. So, and I think that it shows that this ally point is very important. And finally, I come to the slide which says what it all means to the companies. And it is from Merrick's document where they are discussing from perspective of European views, companies. And their point is that actually European companies should think, they should choose dual systems. You have one supply chain, you have research development system to serve China and to provide another one for the rest of the world. And this is really, of course, very complicated. And second one is so-called flexible architecture. Everything that can be supplied in neutral manner in a market developed and built for both systems, with other part being developed separately for each market. So you see, quite a difficult flexible model. But conclusion is that both are very costly. And that is something which we discussed already in the first session, how much we are ready to pay for all these kind of things. And here I think is time to simply finish, because I gave simply some overview about technological nationalism, and we move further to the discussion. Thank you.